Today is October 10th, 2025. What I'm doing is something that's a little bit different. I'm going back to November 1st, 2024. And the importance of this date is it was essentially a crossroads for me where I had to make a decision on what my next steps would be. I had two software platforms. Which one did I need to select? Or do I need to go get a job somewhere else? Everything was on the table at that point. Looking at the two software platforms, we can see RenewAlert had 8 active subscribers who were actually paying. It was generating some revenue. Titan 8, they did have users, but just no revenue being generated. No public website for both. What that means is both websites had just login pages, but no content in terms of information. SEO, no keywords. They were created by the developers and they didn't put any sort of ability for there to be content put onto those pages. RenewAlert had a limited blog that was old and attached to the current website. Titan 8 didn't have a blog. Training, marketing videos were both limited for both and they're both outdated. Neither had any SEO relevance or indexing or ranking on Google. Customer acquisition strategy was to be determined. They were built on Laravel framework. Both of them were on a dated framework. Titan 8 was just a little less old. And so the work to get that one updated was less work than the RenewAlert. So that was about a $5,000 difference. Both of those platforms I own. At the time, there's no investors. The challenge is both platforms I think are excellent. Both do different things. I'll provide a demo of both in this video. One thing you get when you start your own business is a better understanding of who you are and what your strengths are as a business person. Now I'm getting older. Is it wise for me to go ahead and invest more money in a new venture versus going to work for somebody and getting a regular paycheck? Looking back at my career, I'd always thought that I could run a business, but nobody would really give me a chance. The only way I got the chance was starting my own business. I found with Offsite that I'm quite proficient at solving problems. It's a strength of mine. I have a pretty unorthodox approach to things. I'd found over the years I'm pretty good at learning things on my own. When it came to equipment leasing, I really never had any experience in calculating interest rates or payments or anything of that nature, and I didn't do well in math. But for some reason, interest rates made sense to me, and I was able to structure complex transactions and understand lease residuals quite well, and became one of the best in the business at that. When I started Offsite, I had no experience in warehousing, transportation. I didn't know how to move a copy or anything. I figured everything out on my own. I think at this point I could load a truck better than just about anybody out there, but I also figured out a lot of stuff operationally, including dispatch. There's building and evolving processes, understanding what tools are needed that will generate the highest percentage chance of an optimal outcome for our customers. Also providing easily accessible training and resources to my employees so they can do their jobs effectively. And I embrace technology. I believe it's critical to automate as many processes as possible so the employees can focus on delivering an optimal customer experience. Now, in terms of running a business, I think a key trait to have is empathy. It's the ability to see things from your customer's perspective and hear them. I just think it makes the solutions I make better. And this applies to my employees as well. Just understanding their jobs, their stresses and frustrations, kind of how can I improve their tools and processes so they can be more successful and actually love what they do. And there's a quote I came up with and kind of used frequently at Offsite. I don't care about being right, I care about getting it right. When I think about who would hire me, I don't know the answer. If I went back to the office equipment role, I think most dealers would want to put me into a leasing position again. And that's just not appealing to me. Most people tend to underestimate me and not listen to my ideas. So I have to go build them myself. And I think one of my greatest strengths is actually in software development. I like to design software that is easy to use, but more importantly, have functionality for a wide variety of business applications. It's cost effective, easy to use, which ensures maximum user adoption, and also does more than just one thing for one industry. I think you'll see with my software platforms I've built, they're both incredibly versatile. They're both very easy to use, they're both very cost effective, and they solve significant problems in the business world that aren't currently being addressed at this time. My solutions solve multiple problems, not just one, and that's what makes these special. Now, I'm not telling you all this to brag. If you interpret it that way, I apologize. I'm only sharing this because when you start a business, you're going to need to learn every single job in that business. Many of those jobs, you'll have no idea how to do, and you'll need to figure it out, and you'll need to figure it out quickly. You'll need to become no worse than above average at every single job in your company to succeed. You will make mistakes, and you can only pray that you're able to learn and financially survive the costs of those mistakes. And lastly, you'll learn things about yourself you never would have discovered had you not taken the leap into starting your own business. Starting with RenewAlert, this is the website. As you can see here, there's just not a lot of other content on it. We do have a little bit for more information, not very good content, no SEO or anything that's really going to help people find the website. Before we go in, what is RenewAlert? RenewAlert keeps track of all the details that businesses usually lose track of. Permits, leases, vendor contracts, subscriptions, employee certifications, even time-sensitive tasks. So the system automatically sends reminders, up to 3 emails, to the user or anyone else that the user chooses. Everything shows up on a simple dashboard that turns deadlines and to-dos into an organized workflow. You can also use it for birthdays, warranties, service intervals, the month-to-month contracts that never seem to end. It can even send non-renewal notices or service requests to the user's suppliers. So basically, RenewAlert helps manage the little things while our users can focus on the big ones. A key feature of RenewAlert is in the user's account settings. When a user registers their account on RenewAlert, they can select the industry that they're in from a drop-down menu. Currently, we have general business, golf course, home and family, which is a personal subscription that's just coming out, home care, hotel management, multifamily property management, office equipment dealer, restaurant, and transportation. The reason the industry is important is when the user selects their industry, the reminder categories they can select from are tailored to their industry. For example, restaurant may have food handler certificate, liquor license, or cleaning grease traps, which isn't really relevant for home care or multifamily property management. Transportation may have DOT number renewal, driver medical cards, annual vehicle safety inspections. And hotel management may have annual vehicle safety inspections as well for their shuttles. Individual reminder categories can be shared between industries. This provides a highly customized feel of the software to the user. So next I'll log into a demo account for hotels. This is the main dashboard. What we have to start is what's called a hierarchy view. So this means you can have a parent account, which we're logged in right now, the enterprise account. And then what it has is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sub-accounts. So this would be hypothetically a hotel management company, and this would maybe be a regional manager who oversees 5 hotels. Each of these hotels would be assigned to that general manager. The general manager then would be tasked with managing the data for their account. I'll open Westin Scottsdale as an example. The reminders drop down to 42. We'll move over, we have what's called a timeline view. This is where you can see individual reminders that are color-coded by the date. Yellow means action's upcoming. If it's red, that means action is due. And green means no action's due at this time. You can run a mouse over and see a preview of the reminder. I'll click this example, and these are the specific reminder nodes. So here we have desert fire protection. This is just a hypothetical account. You have the inception date, expiration date, payment. So this type of a reminder, we'll click on it to edit it. So this reminder is related to an annual fire alarm inspection. The reminder notes will provide additional details on the reminder. In this example, we're going to initiate a supplier request. To summarize the intent of this reminder, it's basically a task. The Hotel Westin Scottsdale is going to initiate a service request to Desert Fire Protection in anticipation of the fire marshal inspection, which is coming up November of 2025. We have the reminder name, account number, payment amount, which you can track here, $600. It's set to annually. It can go monthly, quarterly. Last payment amount, this is the amount that they can put in if they're issuing payment in advance for services. They issued payment January 2nd of 2025 for $600. If this vendor invoices them again in October, they can go back and say, hey, we paid this back in January. Inception date, the expiration date. The reminder renew feature allows a reminder to automatically renew once it runs its cycle of reminders. This one's set at a 1-year interval, but you can set it up to 5 years. You can rate the supplier. Here you can put in the website for the supplier. You can put in the email address of the supplier, or you can also put in a shared file link that you can add into here where you can actually access the shared files for that reminder. Phone number, additional notes. Here we did include a file folder that's electronically got the documents instead of uploading them to the reminder. Click that, there it goes. So it opens up, we have the fire inspection packet. What's helpful to having the link is you can centrally house all your documents and files and update them throughout the central hub. And those files will be more secure because the person that clicks this will also have to have credentials in order to open it. Whereas attaching documents to the specific reminder, which you can do, whereas if you're attaching the files directly to the reminder, you do have to continually update them. Next, save, proceed to the email. The second part is the reminder email that gets sent. There's little helpers here that tell you what each one is for. You can set how many days you want before a reminder to have this go out. We'll go with 14. That would ordinarily be cutting it pretty close. How many reminders you want to have sent out? You can have 0 for an internal thing, or you can send up to 3, and you can add additional people onto it. So we do have the main user's email address here, which is what the default is, and then you can add additional emails on here. In this situation, we've added Desert Mountain Fire's dispatch email, and we have a template here you can use, which we did service request to supplier. You can do non-renewal notice if you want to make it a non-renewal, and if it's going to the supplier, request of a COI, you can just use reminder notes. Internal email reminder too, which should just be for your internal team. If you read the email, we're just going to go with service request. This is the actual email that's drafted that would get sent out. So you've got who it's from, what it's in regards to. Please schedule a service call to complete Weston alarm fire inspection as soon as possible. Please coordinate with, and it's pulling this data from the account information for the user. If you step back and look at the big picture, what you have here is the user was reminded that they needed to get prepared for the fire inspection. The user was reminded that they needed to contact the vendor who comes out to inspect the fire alarms, recharge the fire extinguishers. But it takes it a step further by not counting on that employee to actually follow through and schedule that, which oftentimes can fall through the cracks. And this automates the scheduling piece of it too, where this vendor does get an automated email, potentially up to 3, requesting the service. So you don't run into a situation where, oh yeah, I saw the reminder, I forgot to get to it. The fire marshal comes out, the fire alarm's not inspected, the fire extinguishers aren't charged, and then they either get shut down or have substantial violations that they have to navigate later, which incurs additional costs and customer satisfaction issues. Another part is a sub-account can have sub-accounts as well. This Weston, if it has a golf course and a bar and grill, we actually just went into the bar and grill. You can see here, these are different things being tracked by the bar and grill. You can just go back to the parent enterprise this way, and it moved back to the Weston. You can see the reminders on different types of lists too. These can be exported, but you can sort them by category. And this is helpful if you're looking to see benchmark pricing for different types. If you have landscape, if you have software, if you have subscriptions, what you're paying, especially if you're a parent account where you're overlooking multiple locations, you can look and see whose spend is a little bit out of line on that. Insurance policies can be tracked. Food handler certificates, it's quite a bit of things can be tracked through this. It's also got quite a robust search feature. Back to the parent over all the hotels, and that's RenewAlert. Starting with Titan 8, as you can see on the website here, there's no content. There's really nothing here for Google to pull for SEO. There's no marketing information. Nothing really here says what the website does. What Titan 8 is it's primarily an IT asset management tool, and it does do a number of other assets as well. But what it does is it allows users to track computers, phone systems, copiers, printers, monitors, but then it goes into also medical devices, furniture, a number of other things you can add into here as well. So this is the main menu for a sample user. And you can see here, you've got the search feature. So if you wanted to look up first, if you want to look for Konica copiers, you type in, it pulls up every Konica that you have in the portfolio. So I'll click on this one, and you can see with the drop down, the variety of things that are tracked. We have computer, copier, crate, equipment, furniture, interactive display. Mobile devices and tablets are really something that don't get tracked very well, but you could assign it. You can use the IMEI number here, entering it in here, and you can assign it to who the person is, device reference, and you can track software builds on those types of devices or understand who's got what mobile device or what tablet pretty easily that way. This is great for people or companies that have home offices where you might have an employee who's got a computer, a printer, a mobile device. It can all be tracked this way. Now this will work for if it's a Dell, if it's a Lenovo model, Lexmark printer, serial number, accessories, last inventory date, asset locations. This is where you can put in where the asset's currently located. Again, this is used by companies or office equipment dealers. Really, for any company that's got an IT manager, this is really helpful for them because they can track all their different servers, software builds on the servers, computers, who's got what. But it also helps you track the life cycle of that device. How old is that device? When was it deployed? When does it need to come out? And it helps for budgeting that way. Location contact. Here you can put in if it is leased or financed, you can put in the information, the term, if there's a letter of intent due on it, date and service, purchase type, even cash. You can track these this way. So that's how you do determine the life cycle of of the asset, expiration, if there's a reference number, who you procured the device from, if there's a sales contact. This allows, if a user wants to acquire or add new equipment or replace a device, they can actually go up here and click upgrade device, and the system will send an email to the individual listed in this column. Hit upgrade. That request, that'll send the serial number, make, model, location to that salesperson and notify them that the customer is interested in upgrading this device. The same is with the service call. So if there is a problem with the machine, if it's a printer, if it's jamming, if it's a computer, if it's a copier, if you do have a service agreement, you can actually put in the information for that device and you can initiate the service call request by clicking that. Same data here, where the location of the asset is, and you can put in the information in terms of what the problems are so they can troubleshoot and come out and solve it. A little further down, this is where you can put in the software builds. This is where you can put in the IP address, if you have admin passwords, if you have software on a device. So if you have in a IT closet, how you often can see piles of PCs or laptops in there. Oftentimes now the software is subscription based. So you have Microsoft Office 365, you have Adobe, you've got different softwares on there. And when a device goes down or if it simply gets retired, we don't always know what softwares are continuously billing on that. If you look at a statement, it'll give a whole list of devices, but it's generally listing IP addresses and they don't necessarily make it clear what device is what. If you disable all that software, you could risk disabling software on active devices and setting your current employees back. So what this allows you to do is document the software builds per device. So when an asset gets retired, if it crashes or anything like that, you can still pull up the information on that device, see what the software builds are on those things, the install date, the term, if it's a software with a term on it. You could add multiple software options on this. You can also, again, track the admin login information on the device. Down here, you can see the device history. So if it's been moved around or if it was returned to the lease depot, you can see that. You can attach the proof of delivery form for that here. You can have photographs of the device, serial numbers. You have full confirmation there. Add additional comments on the equipment here if it's been moved around. Here's some additional integrated services, which makes this a very unique software. You can do recycle, resell it, where you can actually recycle electronics. Titan 8 will work with the user to secure a quote from an electronics recycler where the user could actually make money off of that instead of incurring a cost just to dispose of electronics. If it's a lease return, they can initiate that request here, place in storage, relocate device, and the meter reads. Up here, you can print a device summary page you can place on the device if it's a copier, printer, server, anything. And top right has a QR code the user can scan and it will open this up on their mobile device in Titan 8 so they can actually update live information on that equipment. If it gets moved, if it gets placed in storage, if it gets returned, it can be handled. The search filters do allow for someone to go through. If you've want to see whatever you have in storage, you can actually run a search feature, device status, in storage, hit enter, and you have 2 devices in storage. This is helpful if somebody wants to sort stuff and understand what's been returned, under repair, what's out of order. This is in service. You can see everything that is in service and good. You can also sort by city, state, location, type, in service with a recycle request. So this is Titan 8.